There are certain tools that simply make more sense to buy at Home Depot. Not because they're the cheapest, and not because of the logo on the building, but because some tools are built, supported, and stocked in ways that only work when you buy them there. These tools have better warranty handling, some are Home Depot-specific models you won't find elsewhere, and some are just easier to own long-term when parts, service, and replacements are close by. I'm going to go through 12 tools that genuinely make sense to buy at Home Depot, call out 2 categories you should avoid so you don't waste money, and then show you how to spot the good tools there on your own. These are practical buying tips. Let's get started. Tool 12. Rigid Shop Vacuum Accessories. When it comes to rigid shop vacuum accessories, Home Depot is where these actually make sense to buy. The accessories on the shelf are designed around the exact rigid vacuum models Home Depot carries, which means hoses, nozzles, and extensions lock in properly and stay sealed during use. That tight fit matters more than most people realize. Even small air leaks reduce suction and turn a solid vacuum into a constant annoyance. These are also the parts that take the most abuse over time. Hoses get crushed, floor tools crack, and attachments disappear. Buying them at Home Depot means replacements are easy to find and actually compatible, instead of guessing with off-brand pieces that may or may not fit correctly. There's also a support advantage. Rigid's accessory lineup is closely tied to Home Depot's service system, which makes exchanges and long-term ownership simpler than juggling parts from multiple sellers. If you already own a rigid shop vacuum, buying the accessories here keeps it working the way it should, without the usual compatibility headaches. From there, it makes sense to look at the vacuums themselves, especially the corded models that are still doing real work in garages and job sites. Tool 11. Rigid Corded Wet Dry Shop Vacuums. Rigid's corded shop vacuums are another case where buying at Home Depot simply makes more sense. These vacs are built around long, continuous use, not quick cleanup jobs, and the corded models avoid the biggest weakness of cordless shop vacs: inconsistent power. With a corded, rigid vac, suction doesn't fade, airflow stays steady, and you're not planning your work around battery swaps or recharge time. That matters in garages, basements, renovation work, and job sites where the vacuum is running for long stretches. Home Depot also carries the core rigid models, not trimmed down versions made for online-only sales. That means full-size motors, proper filtration options, and compatibility with the accessories that are already easy to replace on the same shelves. When filters clog, hoses split, or wheels crack, you're not hunting for obscure parts. You're replacing them with components designed for that exact vacuum. There's also a long-term ownership advantage here. Rigid's corded shop vacs are closely tied to Home Depot's service and support system, which makes repairs, exchanges, and warranty handling far more straightforward than buying the same category of tool from a general marketplace seller. If you want a shop vacuum that keeps working the same way 5 years from now as it did on day 1, the corded, rigid models at Home Depot are the safer bet. From here, it helps to shift away from cleanup tools and look at something most people buy early: hand tools, where convenience and replacement policies start to matter more than brand hype. Tool 10. Husky Mechanics Tool Sets. Husky Mechanics tool sets are one of the clearest examples of a tool that works better when you buy it at Home Depot. The value here isn't about owning the best hand tools on the market. It's about access, replacement, and simplicity. Husky sets sold at Home Depot are built around the way people actually lose and break tools over time. When a socket disappears or a ratchet finally gives up, you're not filing claims or shipping parts. You walk into the store and swap it out. Home Depot also carries specific Husky sets you won't find elsewhere, with combinations that make practical sense instead of inflated piece counts. The focus is on commonly used socket sizes, usable ratchets, and trays that fit standard tool drawers, not filler pieces meant to pad the numbers on the box. Another reason these sets make sense here is consistency. If you buy a Husky set today and need to replace or expand it later, Home Depot continues to stock compatible pieces. You're not mixing random brands or dealing with slight size differences that throw off organization and workflow. For homeowners, DIYers, and even working mechanics who want a dependable secondary set, Husky Mechanics tools are less about prestige and more about getting back to work quickly when something goes missing. After hand tools, storage starts to matter. especially once tools stop living in a single drawer and start spreading across a garage or workspace. Tool 9. Milwaukee M12 Specialty Tools. Milwaukee's M12 specialty tools are another category where Home Depot is the place that actually makes sense. This isn't about basic drills or drivers. It's about the tools people buy after they've already been working for a while. Compact ratchets, inspection cameras, right-angle impacts, cut-off tools, and other problem solvers that don't get used every day but matter a lot when you need them. Home Depot consistently stocks the core M12 specialty lineup, not just one or two popular items. That matters because these tools live inside a battery ecosystem. When you're buying into M12, you want confidence that the tools, batteries, and replacements will still be available years down the road, not quietly disappear after one model refresh. There's also a practical advantage in seeing these tools in person. Size, balance, and access angles are the entire point of the M12 line. Being able to handle them before buying, instead of guessing from photos, makes a real difference, especially for tools designed to fit into tight spaces. For anyone already running Milwaukee batteries, Home Depot acts as the most reliable hub for the M12 platform. The selection is deep, the lineup is current, and expansion later on doesn't turn into a scavenger hunt. Once you start buying into platforms and ecosystems like this, it's also where a lot of people make their first expensive mistake, by buying too much at once, instead of buying what they actually need. That's where one category at Home Depot tends to look smart on the shelf, but usually isn't. Don't buy TUOS, generic power tool combo kits at Home Depot. Generic power tool combo kits are one of the easiest ways to overspend without realizing it. These kits are built around a large piece count, not around performance or long-term usefulness. You end up paying for multiple tools you'll rarely use, paired with batteries that are smaller than what those tools really want, and chargers that slow everything down. Another issue is overlap. Many kits include tools that do nearly the same job, while leaving out the one tool you end up needing later. When that happens, you're forced to buy a higher quality standalone tool anyway, which makes the original kit a sunk cost instead of a value buy. There's also the platform problem. Combo kits often use bundle-specific SKUs, and as battery systems evolve, those exact packs and chargers become harder to justify replacing at retail prices. What starts as convenience often turns into a dead-end setup. If you're building a collection, buying tools one at a time based on actual work almost always beats buying a large kit up front. Once you step away from oversized bundles and start buying tools intentionally, the next thing that matters is where all of those tools live and whether your storage can actually handle the weight and use. That's where Home Depot starts to make sense again. Tool 8. Husky Tool Storage. Husky Tool Storage is one of those purchases where buying at Home Depot actually changes how well it works over time. These cabinets and workbenches are built for real weight, not light-duty storage. Drawer slides are rated to stay smooth when loaded. The steel is thick enough to resist flex, and the layouts are designed around common tool sizes instead of novelty features. That matters once drawers stop holding empty space and start holding sockets, power tools, and steel accessories. There's also a logistics advantage that's easy to overlook. Tool storage is heavy, awkward, and easy to damage in transit. Buying Husky storage through Home Depot gives you practical options: in-store pickup, local delivery, and straightforward exchanges if something arrives dented or misaligned. That alone removes a lot of risk, compared to ordering large cabinets from general online sellers. Another reason this makes sense here is continuity. Home Depot keeps Husky storage lines around long enough that matching cabinets, add-ons, and replacement parts don't disappear after a single season. If you expand later, you're not forced to mix mismatched boxes just because a product line vanished. Once tools start to pile up, storage stops being an afterthought and becomes part of how efficiently you work. In that situation, Husky storage from Home Depot delivers solid build quality without turning ownership into a hassle. From there, it makes sense to shift back to powered tools, specifically ones where long-term support and service access matter more than chasing the newest trend. Tool 7. Rigid corded power tools. Rigid's corded power tools are another area where Home Depot is the smarter place to buy. These tools are built for steady, repeat use, and the corded versions avoid the biggest trade-off of modern cordless tools: inconsistent power over long work sessions. With corded, rigid tools, performance doesn't taper off, torque stays consistent, and you're not managing batteries, chargers, or downtime in the middle of a job. Home Depot also carries the full, work-ready versions of these tools. You're not getting stripped-down models made to hit a price point. Motors, housings, and switches are designed for durability, and the tools are meant to be repaired and kept in service instead of treated as disposable. Long-term support is where this really matters. Rigid's corded tools are closely tied to Home Depot's service network, which makes repairs, part replacements, and warranty handling far more straightforward than buying the same type of tool from a random online seller. When something wears out, you're fixing the tool, not replacing it. For anyone who values reliability over convenience hype, Rigid's corded tools from Home Depot are a solid, low-drama choice. After covering power tools built for endurance, it helps to look at something much smaller: the fasteners and hardware that quietly determine whether a project holds up over time. Tool 6. Home Depot exclusive fasteners and hardware. Fasteners are easy to overlook, but this is one category where Home Depot quietly does a lot right. The exclusive fastener lines Home Depot carries, especially under brands like Everbuilt and GripRite, are built around consistency. Sizes are labeled clearly, thread patterns are predictable, and packaging is designed so you can actually restock the same fastener later without guessing. That matters when you're midway through a project and need more of exactly what you already used. Another advantage is volume without chaos. Home Depot stocks these fasteners in quantities that make sense for homeowners and regular DIY work, not just massive contractor boxes or tiny blister packs. You can buy enough to finish a job without ending up with a lifetime supply of something you'll never use again. There's also a reliability factor. These fasteners are meant to meet basic structural and material standards for common construction and repair tasks. You're not gambling on mystery metal or inconsistent coatings, which is where cheap, off-brand fasteners tend to fail. Stripped heads, snapping under load, or rusting far sooner than expected. When a project depends on dozens or hundreds of identical fasteners doing their job quietly and consistently, buying Home Depot's exclusive hardware lines removes a lot of unnecessary risk. Once the small details are handled, it's time to step back to larger tools again, ones that shape materials instead of holding them together. Tool 5. DeWalt Corded Job Site Tools. DeWalt's corded job site tools are another category where Home Depot is simply the practical place to buy. These are tools meant to live on job sites and in workshops. Table saws, miter saws, planers, and other equipment that runs for long periods and doesn't benefit much from being cordless. With corded DeWalt tools, you're getting consistent power, predictable performance, and fewer components that can fail over time. Home Depot carries the work-ready versions of these tools, not stripped-down variants. Motors, fences, and adjustment mechanisms are designed to hold alignment, which matters when accuracy affects safety and finished results. Being able to inspect these tools in person also helps, especially for saws, where build quality is obvious once you put hands on them. There's also a support advantage. DeWalt corded tools sold through Home Depot are easy to service, easy to return if there's an issue out of the box, and simple to keep running with replacement parts. That matters for tools that are expected to last years, not seasons. For anyone doing repeat cuts, trim work, or material processing, DeWalt's corded job site tools from Home Depot are a dependable, low-surprise option. Before we keep going, a quick note. If this breakdown is useful and you like this straight-to-the-point style, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps the channel, and it lets me keep making tool guides that don't waste your time. Once you get into heavier, more permanent tools like this, accuracy starts to matter more. And that's where Home Depot can quietly become the wrong place to buy. Don't buy 1. Precision and calibration tools at Home Depot. Precision tools are one category where convenience works against you. Items like torque wrenches, precision measuring tools, and anything that depends on calibration tend to need more than just a box and a receipt. Accuracy drifts over time, and when it does, the tool is only as good as the support behind it. The issue at Home Depot isn't that these tools are unusable, it's that there's no meaningful calibration path. When accuracy is off, you're often left replacing the tool instead of correcting it. For something that's supposed to be precise, that's not a great long-term setup. There's also limited transparency. You rarely know when a precision tool was last calibrated, how it was stored, or what standards it was checked against. That's fine for general-purpose tools, but it matters when torque values or measurements actually affect safety, fastener integrity, or equipment lifespan. For precision tools, specialty suppliers and calibration-focused retailers are the better option. You get clearer specs, better documentation, and a realistic way to keep the tool accurate over time. Once accuracy-sensitive tools are out of the way, we can get back to equipment where durability and access matter more than calibration, especially tools that you may only need occasionally, but need to trust when the time comes. Tool 3. Husky Individual Hand Tools. Husky hand tools make the most sense at Home Depot when you buy them one at a time, not as part of a large kit. The strength of Husky isn't that every tool is top tier. It's that the tools are consistent, easy to replace, and backed by a simple lifetime warranty. When a wrench rounds over, a screwdriver tip wears out, or a socket disappears, replacing a single tool at Home Depot is fast and painless. You're not mailing anything in or waiting weeks for approval. Buying individual pieces also avoids the biggest problem with large hand tool sets: filler. Instead of paying for dozens of sizes or styles you'll never use, you can build a collection around the tools you actually reach for. Over time, that leads to a more efficient setup and less clutter in drawers and toolboxes. Another advantage is continuity. Home Depot keeps Husky's core hand tool lineup stable, which means you can come back months or years later and still find matching pieces. That consistency matters when organization and muscle memory start to play a role in how you work. For everyday hand tools that get used hard and replaced often, Husky individual tools from Home Depot are a practical, low-friction choice. From there, the focus shifts to tools you don't want to own at all, not because they're bad, but because ownership rarely makes sense. Tool 2. Home Depot rental equipment. There are a lot of tools that make sense to use, but don't make sense to own, and this is where Home Depot stands out. Rental equipment fills the gap between a job that needs to be done right and a tool you'll only touch once or twice. Things like concrete breakers, trenchers, heavy-duty floor sanders, large tile saws, and drain machines fall into that category. Buying them outright ties up money, space, and maintenance time for tools that sit idle most of their life. Home Depot's rental inventory is built around common, real-world jobs. The tools are heavy-duty, maintained between rentals, and sized for typical residential and light commercial work. You're not gambling on underpowered equipment or specialty tools meant for niche use cases. There's also a mental advantage here. When you rent, you use the tool hard, finish the job, and return it. No long-term storage, no wondering when it needs service, and no dealing with depreciation. For many projects, that's the most efficient way to work. For occasional but demanding tasks, Home Depot's rental equipment lets you get professional-grade results without turning your garage into a storage unit. Once renting is off the table, there's one last category that makes sense to buy outright, especially when organization, transport, and expansion all start to matter at the same time. Tool 1. Milwaukee Packout Storage System. Milwaukee's Packout system is one of the clearest examples of a tool ecosystem that simply works better when you buy it at Home Depot. Packout isn't just storage. It's a modular system built around stacking strength, locking consistency, and long-term expansion. The cases, organizers, crates, and rolling bases are designed to lock together securely and stay that way, even when fully loaded. That matters once you start moving tools between jobs, vehicles, or work areas instead of leaving everything in one place. Home Depot's advantage here is depth and continuity. They consistently stock the core Packout components, not just one or two popular pieces. That makes it easier to start small and expand later without worrying about compatibility gaps or discontinued items breaking the system. When you add a new box or organizer, it locks in the same way as the first one you bought. There's also a practical inspection benefit. With Packout, build quality matters, latch feel, lid rigidity, and how trays fit under load. Being able to see and handle the pieces before buying helps avoid committing to a system that doesn't match how you actually work. If you want a storage setup that grows with you instead of forcing a full replacement every few years, buying Packout through Home Depot gives you the best chance of long-term consistency. How to spot good tools at Home Depot. Once you understand why these tools make sense here, it becomes easier to spot good buys on your own. Start by looking for tools that are tied closely to Home Depot's support system. If warranty exchanges, replacement parts, or service are clearly handled in-store or through a well-established process, that's usually a good sign. Tools that rely on vague third-party support are the ones that tend to disappoint later. Pay attention to model consistency. Tools that have been on the shelf for several years with the same core design are usually safer bets than brand new variants with flashy packaging. Longevity often means the tool performs well enough to stay in the lineup. Avoid inflated bundles and focus on individual tools with clear use cases. If you can immediately explain why you'd use the tool and how often, you're probably looking at a better buy than something marketed around quantity instead of purpose. Finally, think about long-term ownership, not just the day you buy it. Ask whether the tool will be easy to repair, replace, or expand around later. At Home Depot, the best tools are usually the ones that stay useful because support and compatibility don't disappear. That mindset does more to save money and frustration than chasing deals or brand names ever will. If this helped you make better buying decisions, stick around. I break tools down based on how they actually hold up, how easy they are to own, and whether they're worth buying at all. If you want more guides like this, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.